startups, the new black.
So thank you for everybody joining today. Today's topic is the new black in the Web3 AI startup community. And for today's panel with me, I have here Patrick Poirier. He's the head of all digital at Louis Vuitton with NSC. Oh, sorry, it's the wrong conference. No, he is the CEO of the Smooth Fund, which invests into various Web3 projects. And I have also the pleasure of having Ritch Traballo, who's the co-founder and CEO of NexHire. I have Tung Lumbres, who's the co-founder of ICP Hub Philippines. And I have Krystelle Galano, who's the vice president of Us Crypto. Thank you for joining. So the first question I would like to start out with is, what would you say are the general tendencies you are seeing in the Web3 startup community these days? What defines a successful Web3 startup? If we could start with you, Krystelle, please.
Yeah, sure. So, to understand, as far as I understand it, to help you have a successful startup, I think you need to have a strong foundation of technical and marketing, and also a strategic vision, and as well with the community engagement. So you need to define how what will the market needs, and how to create new opportunities in the market. It is very important how you plan to innovate and absorb the fast transformation of the innovation in the space.
Right. And Patrick, from all the projects you've been involved with over the last few years, what would you see is the current tendency in the market?
For me, it's a little bit different, but I would say treasury management is the most important part. Because at the end of the day, it's unfair to say, but blockchain technology, there's barely any users. It's all speculators for the most part. So if you manage your treasury well, then you can have 100% of your user base that are valuable to you. As opposed if you're building technology and you're expecting people to use it, but there's 15 users a day, you're just spending a lot of money on building tech that nobody uses. And then you have 1% of your user base that are real users. So it's at the end of the day, if you manage a treasury well, for example, ICP, like, who cares about the users at the end of the day? If you have $1 billion of treasury and you manage it well, you can maintain your price.
So let's shoot that ball straight over to Nelson and understand how ICP then applies that.
Sorry?
So how does ICP apply that in terms of how do you go about that when you're dealing with Web3 and startups?
Well, if you think about it, on traditional startups right now, or companies, investors are looking for the revenue. How much were you able to make the previous year? For Web3 is totally different, something new, something growing. How have you grown your ecosystem last year? And how will you grow this year? So it's a bit weird, because the more innovative idea, let's say Patrick has developed on ICP as a platform, like maybe Google, Amazon Web Service, you can do it on blockchain through us. I mean to say, you can host your website, your firewall, your servers, everything 100% on chain. I don't want to shill, but ICP can provide that. So the thing is, two questions on traditional Web2 right now. Is going to be revenue based. What's the mechanics there? How are you growing? And Web3, which we are moving towards, is how can you grow your ecosystem?
Okay, cool. Ritch, how do you go about that over at NexHire? How do you see the market right now?
Right. So we can see that, most especially in the Philippines, right, there are a lot of projects that are actually being driven here, right? So I think very much there needs to be more support in terms of course, the government, right? And there's also a need to provide more opportunities for the market to enter Web3, right? So in my experience, I've seen a lot of Web3 projects and Web3 communities. And one thing that I've seen here, especially coming from a talent perspective, I've seen a lot of people wanting to go into Web3, most especially in the Philippines, but they don't know how to go to Web3. There are developers who want to go as well, but there needs to be more opportunities and more platforms like that. I think that's my take in this landscape in Web3.
But doesn't this go back to what Patrick was saying about the treasury management? Because at the end of the day, if you have a startup, one of the key components to prove success is that you actually don't burn all your money overnight, but actually try and build a trajectory. So how do you go about that with the Smooth Fund, Patrick?
But for me, it's you should not let external market makers manage your treasury. Ideally, I would recommend project to do it on their own internally. Most of them do not do that, but that's why every crypto cycle we see like almost all projects fail and then never recover from that. Like they lose 99% of their price and then they never recover from that. Meanwhile, there are some projects that when they do manage their treasury well, they can survive more than one crypto cycle, because if you lose 50% of your price, you can recover from that. It's when you lose a certain threshold, every time there's a good news, you do something good, there's someone who's going to sell because they want to recover part of their, like you invest $10,000, you're down to $10 out of it. At some point, hey, it goes back up to 1,000. You're gonna cash out. You're gonna recover some of your fund. Maybe it's pointless to recover $10, but at the end of the day, that's the thing. As an entrepreneur, all you have to do is grab attention somehow, hopefully at the least amount of cost. If that's not building tech, it could be something else. It could be content, and that's why I like kind of meme coin recently, and that's why we've seen meme coin expand so much in the last 6 months, I would say. It's for that reason. It's cheap, and you don't focus on burning millions of dollars on tech.
Got it. Krystelle, how do you guys go about that in terms of your view on the market and where startups, they can really benefit as things are right now? Because there is this strong hype, right? So is now the time for startups to really push out there, would you say, or is now the time for them to prepare for the next cycle? How do you view that?
I think I can answer in the marketing perspective, as I am a marketing person. Maybe you can at least try to take that risk to put some good amount of budget in the marketing side, because you need to have that kind of community. You need to, of course, you're looking forward to have at least a good ROI in every startup companies. So in different type of industries, of course, you need to find that kind of ROI. But if you don't have that kind of enough budget to market your product or your services, you can't define how long your startup could be, like how you can't reach the goal that you're trying to look forward to. Because some of the startup companies just wanted to invest with the technical side, the technical foundation, with some of the different aspects of to provide for their project. But it is not that kind of thing. As a marketing person, there are some thoughts that in my head that these projects should have focus on the marketing budget perspective, because there are a lot of projects made down, they have been no type of amount of budget in the marketing, but they do need to have a community. They do want to have a promotion. They want to get an exposure, but they don't even have that kind of time to take a look in the marketing.
Okay. And Nelson, from the projects you've seen in the Philippines, what has their tendency been on the go-to-market side with the marketing versus the treasury side in terms of their spend and stuff like that? Are they desperately looking for money, or are they sensible in terms of their 12-month spend? How does that look?
Okay, that's a bit advanced, but going back, there's a narrative here in the Philippines that currently I'm really very passionate about, wherein we want to grow, or we want to change the mindset of Filipino from being mere users to builders. Right now, a lot of projects international go to the Philippines. They grow their ecosystem. Axie Infinity, the name of you. They've grown it here in the Philippines. It has changed lives. It went up, it went down, but they've grown their community here. Other projects are also following suit. So the main challenge right now that what I'm doing is I'm providing education free, the language of Web3. They can learn it, they can change their lives, and from there, if they're very persistent, we can incubate them. We can give them funding and everything. But the thing is, before we go to that question, that's the thing. I really want to change the mindset on Filipino Web3. It has to be more of entrepreneurial. There's this big global marketplace wherein you won't be judged as the third world country. You won't be seen as Filipino. You will be on a level marketplace with other countries. And that's an opportunity. And that's a vault that can change Filipino lives. And the key there is building, creating, and doing innovative things. So before we go there, which is a bit advanced, as I mentioned, we need to change that landscape here in the Philippines. And I think we can do that.
Okay, so Nelson, over at Ritch, over at NexHire, how do you then do that in terms of the companies you're dealing with and the candidates you source and stuff like that? Because that must require a totally different mindset compared to how things have been in the past.
Can you repeat the question?
So the question is, how do you go about, helping companies identify talent that can help build these startups?
Right. So I think there's two things now that we have to identify. One, there are already untapped market or untapped communities that are actually knowledgeable already about these types of things, right? Second, there's this side of like what Sir Nelson mentioned, right? There's a lot of developers, a lot of talent out there that I mentioned a while ago that want to learn, right? So I think one thing there is really pushing out these opportunities like what ICP is doing, providing a platform where people can experiment or actually enter in Web3 using ICP. And I think that's very important for talents out there. Now, in the note of finding talent or finding candidates, right, for Web3 projects, I think one thing that we did or that we do differently here is we make sure that we tap the right communities. We know that we have in Web3, communities are very strong, right? They're very strong, my bad. So in that sense, we know that what type of community we should tap into, and we know what type of talent we'll be able to get in that community. Yeah.
Cool. And when we then look at these communities and they are expanding, what we then say, where is this most prevalent? Is that in the big cities, or do you also see that there is talent coming more from rural areas, countrysides? Because often, this kind of boom seems to be in the big cities, but, technology, as long as people have got an internet connection, they can do it from anywhere. Where do you mainly see that the most interesting talent is coming from these days? The big cities or from more like the countryside?
Based from my experience, I've seen a lot of talent in the rural side. And because of like what you mentioned, since you just need an internet. And right now, Discord is one of the main platform, right? They would need to be onboarded. So you would see a lot of talent in the rural areas wanting to learn more about Web3.
Good, thank you. Nelson, please.
Yeah, I think I just want to add, countryside, definitely. Because we're really looking for those diamonds among the gems. Those who are hungry. That's the message that's always been in the Philippines. Those who are hungry, we can change their lives, actually. And I think it's going to be a game changer. We're in the works right now. And hopefully by next year, sitting again right here, it is going to be a different narrative for Philippines.
Thank you. And when we then look at the whole ecosystem development of, you have a startup, it would like to go out there. How is it then, from a marketing point of view, Krystelle, how do you see that? How much understanding do these people have of how they want to communicate their potential business to investors, to their potential client audience? How do you see their thinking on that? And how do you try and help them with that?
Well, for me, I think like an event like this, you need to attend at least, like not as big as event that you're trying to look for, but even small events here in the Philippines is already happening, like a community meetup, something like that. You need to connect to those people because even that you have already that kind of knowledge in the marketing, since it is more powerful with the word of a mouth that you can express what your startup ideas is, what is your goal to this community. If you need to find that kind of people around you, you need to see that inside, like what is your target market, what is the this market needs, or this kind of event, is it fit for your project. You need to define everything before you exclusively execute to the startup idea that you have. And connection is really, really huge. If those people that you're trying to communicate have a big connection globally, it's really important to find those kind of people because it will start there. You have the people on your own company, then you just need to expand it. You need to communicate. Here in the Philippines, when I got started, there are some few people that understand about the blockchain, cryptocurrency. But now it is really have like a huge adoption here in the Philippines, and you just need to go out on your comfort zone. You need to communicate, start with the communication with the community, and then you can never know what they have in connection. They have a global, you need, and the people for your company. Then you start with that.
Okay, so the startups need to get out of their comfort zone, and then they need to face a lion like Patrick. So,
Yes.
you as the investor, how does it then work? What are the, let's say, prerequisites or the KPIs you look for when you consider investing into a project beyond just Treasury? What kind of a style of business is it in terms of Web3 AI?
I think for me, I try to avoid project that overspend like needlessly. So you have to be cost conscious about everything, whether it's marketing and everything, especially marketing in crypto. Like your cost of user acquisition is so high. There's so many marketing agencies that have fake users. The KOL is the same thing.
Krystelle is smiling a lot, right?
Yeah, it's true, and it has a point. But I agree on that. That you don't need to spend that much. You need to have that kind of cost friendly that can give you what you want as a marketer. But yeah, it's very crucial to answer that. But yeah, I agree on that.
So that's saying at the end of the day, I try to look for projects that have the possibility to grab attention, whether it's tech, content, or anything like a meme coin. It's not so much about the joke anymore. It's about how can you grab attention. Like for example, one meme coin is about a media. They make a video about like Larry Pink going on TV. All of that content grab attention, and then when people buy your token, you have to remember that you should not be burning whatever money you got.
Right.
It's kind of it's not a loan, but it's in the sense they will eventually sell. So
Right.
You need to make sure that you generate profit somehow. And I think that to me, the easiest one is the treasury management. So I would probably prefer to back project that have like a strong economic and financial background to do that part more than the tech itself. The tech can come later. Once you know what your community wants, it's like the lean startup methodology. You need to talk to your customers. If you build something, you spend millions of dollars and nobody use it, it's a waste of money, and I refuse to put money behind that.
So basically what you're saying is that new projects, they can come with a great idea. Not all the technology actually needs to be in place, but what you want to see more than anything is that they are able to be innovative on the marketing side, whereby they get free marketing, and the money they get from investors is essentially almost, as you said, a kind of a loan, because they have this money on a limited time period during which that they build the business until they start generating profitable, let's say, revenue streams. And when that then happens, in the interim, the key thing is that the token, coin, whatever, has not collapsed in the interim. Have I understood that correctly?
Exactly, because at the end of the day, the best marketing you can have is your price chart. Eventually, people will notice that your token price keep going up, and it suffer from time to time. But like one project that I refused to help, in February, because I thought they were dead.
Dogs with hats. No.
It was actually PopCat.
Popcat.
Yeah, it's a meme coin. They had like 260K of market cap. I thought they were dead because they were in a death spiral. The price kept going down, but I refused to help. But they did something smart on their own. They converted most of their treasury into WIF. Like they paired their own token with WIF.
So it was dogs with hats, huh?
Yes. I'm saying they grew, like WIF grew up like 20,000% in the meantime. So then the price chart of PopCat like grew up like massively. And now they got notice. And then now they have a 260 million market cap. So they grew up
Hello.
1,000 times. So
Congratulations, Patrick. Congrats.
Yeah. You must feel terrible. So with all of this said, Nelson, when you speak to startups, what are the main components that you try and tell them they have to focus on in order for them to be successful?
Okay. Well, one is, yeah, I think it was mentioned a while ago regarding the tech, but that's a given already. But another thing is, yeah, I was going to mention scalability. How scalable is it? Of course, it's given as well. But I think it's more of how innovative the idea is. Okay, if you're going to solve a problem that is currently being solved by a traditional Web2, that's okay. But I doubt that investors like Patrick will invest in that. But if you mention that you'll be creating something like a rocket ship in the Philippines, something like that, and you have the capability and the team, and you have planning, something that is absurd but innovative, that within the long run can be something really, really fruitful, then I think those are the things that we really want. I mentioned a while ago, traditional Web2 is currently, traditional, exactly that's the word. And they're looking for, of course, a revenue model. This time around, it's going to be ecosystem. How big is it? How's the concept? How big is it? Again, as Patrick mentioned, is it going to be a rocket ship, something like that? In a way, in a term. But I do want to mention, with regard again to the Philippines, that in terms of the mindset, I guess I mentioned earlier, is going to be, or supposedly, not a scarcity. It's going to be more of this opportunity that everybody has, just using thinking more and creating this innovative idea that we can bring into to this marketplace. Yeah, again, it can change. It can change Filipino lives.
Okay, and Ritch, when you are dealing with new projects, what are the main things you're looking for when you're engaging with them for the sake of them becoming successful?
Well, there's two things I would look at, right? One is their community. And I think going back to your question a while ago, what makes a Web3 project or a startup is successful, right? So one thing I found out, having a strong and resilient community will make a really huge difference. Being close to your user, especially with Web3, is very crypto is very volatile, right? So having a support system, having your users to be supportive with the team, with the founders, will really make a huge difference. Second, I think I would look at also the talent or the team executing the idea. So as what Patrick mentioned, having a great idea is a good thing as well. But I think after that, you need to have a good team of people to execute that idea, right? So yeah.
But how does that then work? Because Patrick has been talking a lot about the money spent, money burn side, and you are advocating the importance of building the community. But is that not one of those things which often comes at a very high price at the beginning?
For me, I think there are ways in order to be mindful of your spend in terms of building the community. And I think building a community will really help to be closer to your users, right? So the building a community of users will actually really save you cost instead of reaching out to other markets or other places that definitely they don't have any connection with you, right? So yeah, I think having a cost-effective strategy, building communities, I think that's a good way to go about it.
So basically, you're advocating localization first in terms of identifying a given target audience, the classic TAM, SAM, SOM, total accessible market, serviceable accessible market. Down.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So definitely though, like of course you would need to have the right market or the right target market. But what I'm trying to say is building a community of these people or these target market or users, I think will make a difference, since building communities will be able to give you free marketing, like join our community, blah blah blah, etc., and you get actual users to try out your product and build people who are actually really interested in your product.
Right. Nelson has something to say about
If I
that.
could add, if ever Patrick is an investor, he's gonna ask, how did you use our money? If ever the project is based in Singapore, I use it within the Singapore. Then most likely Patrick will get angry. But if the project mentioned I use it in Singapore and Malaysia, which is our neighbor, and also in Indonesia, and other things, and we've grown their ecosystem, most likely Patrick will agree with the spending. It really depends on that. Yeah.
Krystelle, from a marketing point of view, where do you then see, that it really has, in general, a good uptick, a good return on investment? Where is the interest high when new projects they come about? There must be where you're saying, look, this is a marketing project like branding to Tahiti or something like that. There's nobody who's going to be interested in this here. How does that work, in terms of when you, from a marketing point of view, speak with new projects? How do you try and guide them as to what is worthwhile looking at? Which channels?
Well, as long as your community is not a bot,
How do you try to, for instance, that's a very good example. How do you try and, say to them, right, you need to prove that your users are real, that this is not just a community of Instagram bots or something like that? How does that work?
Yeah, like what I've said, it is more important to have that kind of community for real first, maybe in local. But when I started before, I tried to communicate with global users. Of course, I've been a victim of that bots, but yeah, when I try to look at that, you need to target at least one first. Which area or country that you need to fill for your community, and you need to have a person that will be in charge for that. In order to I think not doing some KYC or so, but yeah, you need to fill that community. Even it's not thousands or hundred thousands of people. Even 20s or 50s or hundreds, it still counts, because you need to find that kind of real perfect person or people that will be part of your community and understand the product that you're building or the company that you're building, and they have that kind of interest.
Right.
And it's not that kind of that you have just the community hyping it, everything. Of course, you need to give them the information, what is in it for them to join this kind of community.
Right.
It's really important.
Right. Ritch feels very strong about this. I can feel it.
Yeah. I definitely agree, right? So as what Krystelle mentioned, identifying the target market or the specific users, and then building a community around that. And at least now, if you have a community, it's actually easier for you to talk to your users and iterate on your product, right?
Okay, great. So, Patrick, as a closing remark, what would you say is where you see the greatest potential right now? If people are sitting with a little startup idea, where do you really see that there is great, let's say, momentum in the market where things could go up?
So for me, I have a big interest for AI, but even then, I would say that is there much of a consumer AI that is getting traction? Maybe not that much. So I would try to find projects that have AI that is more like a B2B kind of play for the most part. And then if they do have like the sales capacity to get some real customers, that's what I would look for more than anything. Anything in regards to marketing, what you said is that if a project come to me and after 2 months they have 100,000 followers on Twitter, I usually disregard them because I know they're full of shit.
That won't be me.
Meanwhile, one project that is about AI that is like the founder was the first CTO of Ocean Protocol. So he's spent the last 2 years building an entirely new project, and their Twitter have like 600 followers. That I believe.
Right, I see. So you want it to be realistic numbers.
Yeah.
Very good. Sorry, but time is up. We don't have any time for questions. It's been a very insightful panel. Thank you to Krystelle, Nelson, Ritch, and Patrick for attending. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you.
Thank you.